In addition to the spermatogonial cells, there's also supporting cells that are called nurse cells or Sertoli cells. These form the blood-testis barrier and also nourish the developing spermatids as they go through development. And that's indicated here. These are nurse cells or Sertoli cells within the seminiferous tubules. So overall anatomy of sperm, there's the head, which contains the 23 chromosomes, hence they are haploid. The acrosome is the covering, which has fertilization enzymes that we'll talk about later. Then the midpiece has many mitochondria to produce the energy to drive the flagella or the tail. So the sperm, after sexual intercourse, will swim through the female's reproductive tract by movement of the flagellum. So let's look at the male reproductive tract. So the epididymis lies alongside the testis and within the scrotum. So the immature sperm that are produced through spermatogenesis leave the seminiferous tubules. Temporarily they're in the red testis, spend most of their time in the epididymis where they mature, or maturation occurs, about 2 weeks. And during that time, once they mature, if ejaculation is to occur, then the sperm are mature and they would be motile. If ejaculation does not occur, the sperm are basically degraded and resorbed by immune system cells that are found within the epididymis. So head, body, and tail, the general components of sperm. This is the epididymis, which also has its head, body, and tail. And the coiled duct is actually quite long, 7 meters, 23 feet, which is incredible, but it's all coiled up and packaged within the region of the epididymis. And then sperm are propelled through the epididymis and out via the vas deferens or ductus deferens through peristaltic contractions. And then out of the scrotum, the passageway is through the ductus deferens or the vas deferens, which then enters into the abdominal cavity, pelvic cavity. It is about 18 inches long. From the epididymis, the sperm would travel through the ductus deferens in through the lower abdominal pelvic cavity through the inguinal canal. Then they're in the pelvic cavity because the ductus deferens arches over the urinary bladder, and then on the posterior aspect of the urinary bladder, the ductus deferens enlarges to form an ampulla. And the ampulla of the ductus deferens joins the seminal vesicles, one on each side. And once they're joined, they form a relatively short ejaculatory duct. And then from there, the sperm, along with fluid from the seminal vesicles, enter into the urethra within the prostate gland in the male. And the sperm are propelled along via peristaltic contractions. Then from the urethra out the body. The urethra has shared responsibilities or functions. One function is the reproductive function, in the sense that the urethra is a pathway for sperm outside of the body. Or in the urinary system, the urethra is a pathway for urine outside of the body. It's about 20 centimeters, 8 inches long, the urethra. With its 3 parts, remember PMS, the prostatic urethra through the prostate, membranous urethra through the urogenital wall, and that's where the external urethral sphincter would be located. And then the spongy or penile urethra spans the distance of the penis. Semen and urine do not or cannot pass at the same time. That is because during ejaculation, the internal urethral sphincter closes so that the only thing that would exit the penis would be sperm and seminal vesicle fluid and prostatic gland fluid and bulbourethral gland fluid. So what leaves the penis is called semen, which is sperm plus glandular fluids. So the glandular fluids, accessory glands, which contribute the seminal fluid. So semen again is sperm plus the seminal fluid, and the seminal fluid is from contributions of the seminal glands or vesicles. Those secretions are added or go into the ejaculatory duct where they meet or join the sperm. And that's about 60% volume of semen is the seminal gland fluid. So the seminal gland fluid provides fructose, which is a carbohydrate, nutrients for the sperm to be able to swim through the female reproductive tract, and also prostaglandins, which contribute to sperm motility so that sperm starts swimming through the female reproductive tract. The prostate gland contributes fluid as well. It surrounds the urethra, just inferior to the bladder, urinary bladder, about the size of a walnut. And it contributes about 30% of semen volume. Its fluid, prostatic fluid, helps liquefy the semen after ejaculation to help, again, the sperm swim through the female's reproductive tract. And it has an antibiotic to protect the sperm, something called seminal plasmin. And then lastly, the bulbourethral glands, also called Cowper's glands, at the base of the penis. They contribute a alkaline mucus, which contributes to lubrication, which is prior to ejaculation, to help lubricate during intercourse, and also helps neutralize the overall acidic environment of the urethra and the vagina. So the urethra and vagina are naturally slightly acidic to help ward off or prevent infections. But the acidity would be harmful for sperm, hence the alkaline, slightly basic mucus that's produced by the bulbourethral glands. And then finally semen, again, mixture of sperm and the seminal fluid. Sperm is only about at most 5% or so of the volume of semen. And again, the seminal fluid has the nutrients and antibiotics, enzymes, and alkaline secretions to help protect the sperm and help them swim through the female's reproductive tract to reach the ovulated egg or ovum, if that is to have occurred. Each ejaculate is about 2 to 5 milliliters in volume, contains about 200 to 500 million sperm. The penis, a copulatory organ or sexual intercourse organ within the male, also used for expulsion of urine. The root of the penis attaches to the ischial rami of the hip bones. The body or shaft of the penis is the relatively tubular portion that has the erectile tissue. And the glans penis is the expanded end, which also contains erectile tissue. And then at the end of the glans penis, or the head of the penis, is the external urethral orifice. And then covering the glans penis is a foreskin or a prepuce in the uncircumcised male. So the penis is able to achieve erection through blood entry into 3 cylindrical erectile columns within the penis. This is a cross-sectional view of the penis. There's the corpus cavernosa, which are paired structures, and then there's one corpus spongiosum that surrounds the urethra. So two corpus cavernosa and one corpus spongiosum. So during sexual excitation, venous blood supply enters into the erectile cylinders, the corpus cavernosa, both of them, and the corpus spongiosum, causing them to fill with blood. The blood flow out of these erectile tissues is basically slowed or stopped almost, and that causes them to fill with blood, and that leads to an erection. So during ejaculation, semen is expelled via muscular contractions to force semen out of the penis. In terms of the innervation, think of point and shoot. So P for parasympathetic innervation. Parasympathetic activity causes the erection, the point part. And then the sympathetic innervation or sympathetic activation causes the ejaculation. So S for sympathetic and shoot in terms of ejaculation. So both components, divisions of the autonomic nervous system are important for intercourse and ejaculation in the male. Okay, let's move on to the female reproductive tract and the female reproductive system. So the female reproductive organs are the gametes, the paired ovaries, the uterine or fallopian tubes, the uterus, the vagina, the external genitalia, and then the mammary glands to nourish the young after birth. So the female reproductive system produces gametes, sperm, eggs or ova, supports the embryo if fertilization is to occur, and then nourishes the newborn after birth. So the ovaries are the female gonads, which produce the female gamete, oocytes, or ova or eggs, and hormones. They're near the lateral wall in the pelvic cavity. They're supported by ligaments, the mesovarium, which is called the broad ligament, seen here, there, and the ovarian and suspensory ligaments. So there's the ovarian ligament there, from uterus to ovary, and then the suspensory ligaments from the ovary to the side of the pelvic cavity. There's a germinal epithelium, which is a simple cuboidal epithelium that surrounds each ovary. And then the tunica albuginea is a dense connective tissue covering, homologous to the tunica albuginea in the male. Now let's get into the ovarian cycle, the monthly ovarian cycle that's linked to, associated with the maturation of a gamete or oocyte, and then the ovulation. So oogenesis is the production of the female gamete or the oocytes. So during fetal development, so when the human female is a fetus herself developing within the womb of the mother, within the uterus of the mom, the stem cells, the oogonia, start the process of meiosis to produce gametes. So primary oocytes are produced, and they start to develop within the primordial follicles within the female reproductive tract, within the female ovary, when the human female is still a fetus herself. So a follicle is a developing oocyte with surrounding follicular cells. So this starts to happen when the human female is a fetus herself. Okay? So the ovarian follicle again is an oocyte surrounded by follicular cells. And then the development stops. It goes into a rest until puberty occurs, and puberty is driven by the onset, the development of follicular stimulating hormone that stimulates the ovarian cycle, a complete cycle that starts